Morning, folks. Welcome to a special edition of Burning Platform. We're celebrating two things today, a Curmudgeon Christmas. So Christmas, you can see green and red, and the Buccaneers. It's December, they better rev up. And then Curmudgeon, and that's why we have Dennis Howlett. Dennis, how are you? And what the hell are you wearing?
Oh, hi, Vinnie. I'm really good, but I hear that this COVID-19 thing can be spread through the internet. So I thought I'd take some extra precautions today. And it's only 35 degrees outside, and it's bloody cold. So I'm wearing 3 layers, man.
three plus one for your head and one for your mouth. Great.
Yeah. Okay, come on, let's get serious for a minute.
Yeah, you explained it last year. Why don't we spend a minute talking about what the hell curmudgeon? Where does it come from? Okay.
Well, it's basically somebody who's miserable.
So, Dennis, do you remember this?
Oh, blimey. How many years ago was that?
A few years ago. It was at a Plex conference, and Susie Foran basically had a great little sign for us, and very appropriate. Talking of that, where is Frank Scavo? What happened to him?
Yeah, well, I think his lawyers found out that the split for the NFT that's coming with this great show just didn't work for him, right? And there was a bit of a problem trying to get VIP tickets for the next golf tournament at Bedminster, which I think was one of his rider issues. So kind of add the two together. See you later, Frank. Sorry, mate. Can't go.
Poor Frank. I thought the reason I thought we wouldn't invite him is, remember the ugly Christmas sweater he wore last year? I don't want to see that again. So that was my reason for not having me. But actually, Frank actually has had a very good year. He got acquired by a big research firm, Avasant. So he's been busy, assimilating there. I've talked to Frank more in the last couple of months than I have in years. We exchange notes all the time. He's doing well. Merry Christmas, Frank. Sorry to miss you.
He's working? He's working for a living now, is he?
He is showing no signs of retirement, Dennis.
Wow.
Talking of this, you look wonderful, Dennis. Retirement's obviously suiting you. Tell us what's been going on for the last few months.
Okay. There's so much to share. I mean, so many things have changed in the last 10, 11 months for me that, I've got a bunch of pictures that I can share with you on a presentation, if we can make the technology work, of course, which is always a bit of...
You, Dennis, you're talking about NFT, and you're actually going to show a PowerPoint. I've never seen you present, so this is going to be great, Dennis.
Vinnie, listen, I have opened my laptop 4 times in the last 48 hours to get this together, which is twice as many times as I've opened it since February 28th. You made me work for it. You made me work.
Thank you very much, Dennis, for doing this. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. So is this now? Okay, Vinnie. So this particular picture was taken on March the 4th, which was my birthday, and 2 of my grandchildren, knowing that I'd retired, got this apron for me because they also know that I like cooking, right? And I don't know if you can see it properly. It says retired 2021, not my problem anymore.
Dennis, you shared that with me earlier, and I posted it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Several people commented they haven't seen you so happy in ever. So it's obviously suits you.
Well, I don't know about that, Vinnie, but we'll see. So this is what I became immediately, the shy retirer. Okay.
Dennis and shy.
Something like that, anyway. But I mean, the whole thing about the apron is that, a lot of people know that I enjoy cooking. And when I came back to the UK, I picked up from where I left off like 15 years prior, because I'd been traveling pretty much non-stop for 15 years. So didn't get much time to spend in the kitchen. And especially when I lived in America, where that's a whole different story. So nowadays, instead of writing sort of like pieces that annoy vendors and stuff like that, I don't write anything really. I just post pictures of the kind of food that I like. and the things that I'm learning. Because the thing about food is that you're always learning something new if you're trying things new. And in homage to Frank, because he's not here, and because he's got Italian heritage, this is a proper carbonara, right? And this recipe came from a guy in Australia who is Italian and who showed me how to make carbonara the way the Italians make it, which I didn't know until quite recently. So, and trust me, this is easy, 10 minutes, done, beautiful. Let me see.
Margaret does a aglio olio, which is our
favorite,
favorite sauce. So
yeah.
I'd love to try your carbonara sometime.
It's dead easy. It's dead easy, Vinnie. So this is, because I live in Yorkshire, what do we have? We have Yorkshire puddings. And, if you've never tried one, you've got to. And this is my take on what's called toad in the hole, which is like sausage done in the Yorkshire pudding batter. And I do them as sort of like individual portions. Then we don't have any fighting over, who got what, right? But I'm also a great believer in sustainable foods and fish in particular. I mean, we have a problem in this country where our fishing industry has basically been decimated through the whole Brexit thing. Don't want to talk about that. But there are a few specialist suppliers who land all sorts of things that are very, very difficult to get. If you go to the supermarket, I never go to supermarkets these days, but even if I did, I would never find some of these varieties. And this is one called a John Dory. It's the ugliest thing you can imagine, but trust me, 3 minutes each side on the grill, terrific.
Nothing, in the US, we think of English fish as fish and chips, cod and haddock and stuff like that. So,
yeah, two endangered species that I almost never buy.
Really?
Yeah. They've been overfished for years. There was a thing called the cod wars many years ago, and I just don't buy those fish anymore. There are great alternatives to those, and I prefer the alternatives, which are sustainable and, funny enough, they're cheaper. So this is something that I discovered while living in America, and it's a beer can chicken. Would you believe? This is and I'd never done it before. I tried it out on my kids, and they loved it. I'm going to do so. Do you know what this is?
So the chicken.
Sorry, go on.
What is it, like a barbecue? What?
Yeah. That's done on a barbecue.
Okay.
And that's actually a halal chicken. I prefer halal chickens to any other kind because they always taste better. I don't know why, but maybe it's the way in which they're reared. Maybe it's the way that they're slaughtered or whatever, but we prefer them. Let's get on to this thing. What does that look like to you?
A piece of steak.
I think you call it a tomahawk over in the US.
Okay, yep.
In France, we used to call it a côte de bœuf. And that, again, is a barbecue piece. And I really like this one because I actually managed to do it medium rare. Because for me, it's either uncooked or it's burnt. I'm getting better at barbecue, is what it boils down to. Sticking with the barbecue, brisket, right?
Oh, wow.
Americans...
You are hardcore.
Do you know, Vinnie, there was so much that I learned about cooking in America. One is that Americans keep things very simple a lot of the time. And the second thing is that they know how to cook with fire in ways that we in this country really don't get at all. And I learned how to do brisket while I was living in San Diego, came back to this country, and this is the latest version. And trust me, that was gorgeous. And I'm not sure if you can see what that is.
Ribs?
Yep, you got it. So ribs is a huge thing in America, isn't it? I mean, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of videos on how to do ribs and competitions and all the rest of it. And again, it's another of these things that I learned in America and have been able to sort of export or import, import back to the UK. So, yeah.
In the US, we have very, very regional versions of barbecue. The sauce is different, how they're cooked is slightly different. So I don't know what you picked up in San Diego, but sometime you should spend time in the US South, Kentucky is different than Texas, is different than many, many different barbecue flavors.
I don't know if I'll ever come back to the US, Vinny, if I'm honest, but if I did, those would be where I'd be thinking of going, right? You know, St. Louis, Kansas, those kind of places, just to try, you know, if nothing else. Okay, it doesn't look great, I'll admit, but that was the very first.
Not bread.
No, it's the very first Neapolitan pizza that I cooked. In a proper pizza oven. And actually, it doesn't look great, but trust me, it tasted absolutely awesome.
Isn't it a little doughy? I mean, you like it doughy?
No. Very, very thin, very, very airy on the edges there. It's something I learned from Italian. Bacon. I make my own bacon. Can you believe this?
Wow.
I'm so poor, Vinny, I have to make my own bacon.
You obviously have a little more time on your hands. Now, do you have your bacon crispy like we do in the US, or a little more mushy?
No, I don't do it like you guys do it over in the US. I mean, you can do it with this particular type, which is what we call streaky. You can do it, but I don't really prefer it that way. But you know, I know you guys don't like it our way, so you know, it's each to their own in that sense, isn't it? Let me see, what else have we got here? Yeah, I started making my own sausages. Listen, I really am poor, Vinny. I have to make my own food.
Wow.
And I'm now making my own sausages. So
this seems very labor intensive.
No, it's not. It's not. So if you're making your own bacon, it takes 10 minutes to put it all together, and then you just leave it for a few days. Rinse it all off, you're done. Let it dry out, you're done. With sausages, 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, that's it. The hardest part is threading the hog casings onto the tube. I get Judith to do it. I just don't have the touch for it. At least not at the moment, anyway. So
this would be a breakfast sausage.
Yeah, that one's a breakfast sausage. The next load I'm making are going to be Italian sweet sausages because I need them in a recipe that I'm going to be doing at Christmas.
Dennis, how have you stayed slim? My God, you're cooking up a storm.
Right. So one of the reasons that I do a lot of this stuff is that I want to be in control of what I eat. And one of the problems that I faced when I lived in America was that I was never sure what I was eating. And that because you can't tell. It's very the FDA says it has labeling control. It doesn't really, not in the same sense that I understand. But and that meant that by the time I got back to the UK, I was dangerously overweight, really dangerously overweight. And I had to lose a lot of weight. And I spent a couple of years losing about 65 pounds.
Wow.
And I've managed to keep it down. So, but part of that is being disciplined about what it is that I eat and making sure that the food that I eat is as good and fresh and as varied as possible. And that isn't a diet. As my brother says, diet consists of two words, the first one of which is die, right? And he's right. So I eat things that I enjoy, but I don't go crazy about it. But I do keep a measure of control over it in ways that I just couldn't do while I lived away. So anyway.
What else you got?
Focaccia.
Oh wow. Now that's something I would love.
Again, it's dead easy. A lot of the things that I do are dead easy. I was talking to VJ, I think it was VJ, recently, and he says if I can't get it done in under 45 minutes, then it becomes a problem. And a lot of what I do, I can get put together in 30, 40 minutes.
VJ posts some of his cooking pictures. This is very complex.
No, yeah.
And I wouldn't touch his stuff. That you need a iron stomach for that.
Yeah, he took me to a restaurant one time, and he said, do you want to try the 100 chili prawn? fish dish, sorry. I said, yeah, okay, I'll go for it. This dish was covered in frickin' red chilies. Man, he lapped it up. I just couldn't touch it, man. It's like,
you know, so that is a funny story. So we're in Singapore, and we go to little India in Singapore, and
yeah,
there's a restaurant that has a scale on the wall. And I said, what's
yeah.
that? He said, well, 0 to 0, 1 is mild, 9 is if you can have 9, your meal is free. So we ordered 2s and 3s, all 4 of us, right? And there's a guy sitting in the table next to us, and he's literally sweating bullets. So I asked the waiter,
Yeah.
what's with him? Is he okay? Is he having a heart attack? He says, no, he ordered an 8, and I think he's going to get a free meal.
So everything I've shown you is savory, but I just wanted to leave you with a couple of things. This one.
So the focaccia, do you just have it olive oil or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Olive oil, thyme that comes out of the garden, a little bit of garlic, sea salt, you know, very, very simple.
Yeah.
And here we have a strawberry panna cotta. I'm not a big pudding guy, but I had a bunch of strawberries left over, and I just found a recipe for doing this, and Judith tells me that she really liked it. So
is it like is it like a custard, or what is it?
Yeah. It's like a very light, a very light custard. Underneath, you've got a lemon. There's like a lemon curd underneath. Then there's a vanilla layer, and then the strawberry on top. Again, it's another Italian thing, would you believe? There's a theme going here, isn't there?
You've really, I mean, you're missing Brexit.
Not talking about that, Vinnie.
Let's not talk about that. You're right.
No. And I've always enjoyed coffee, and prior to retiring, Thomas Otter used to get really annoyed with me because I kept banging on about my Nespresso machine and all the rest of it. And he kept telling me about all the problems with Nestle and the craft of the coffee and all the rest of it. And so what I did was, when I moved here to this house, we'll get to that, is that I invested in a proper coffee setup. And so nowadays I'm doing this. Yay.
Oh, wow. So you grind your own beans? I mean, you're like,
yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But more importantly in that, I can now find sustainable coffee producers who provide wonderful coffees. And they're not insanely expensive either, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you pay for a Starbucks these days, but you know, I can get a decent coffee like that for I don't know, $1, maybe $1 it cost me.
And talking about sustainability, I interviewed a Scandinavian coffee company, and the guy, I think his title is Chief Circular Economy, or basically his point was, up to now, we've only used 1% of the coffee bean, you know, what we extract for the coffee cup. And he said, we're trying to make the farmer get money from the packaging, from oils for skincare, all kinds of uses for the coffee.
Wow.
So yeah.
So
is this your art? I mean, you're able.
Yeah. I'm hit and miss. You know, sometimes I can do it, sometimes I can't. But you know, whatever. And this is the wee setup.
Admit it, Judith did that, right? If it's good, it's Judith.
You let the secret out, Vinnie. So I got this set up here, and if people really like to do good coffee, then this works great. I mean, you know, these things aren't cheap.
All that for a cup of coffee, huh?
Yep. But I've got time. So
and space.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in a second as well. And I've shown a lot of grill stuff, and you know, I've talked about my time in America, and guess what?
Oh wow!
All of this kit, this is part of it. You got the Bradley smoker, which is American. You got the Big Green Egg, which is American, and you got the Hosni pizza oven, which I think is British, although I know it's available in America. So, you know, I'm grateful for what I learned over in America.
And it's easy to get the proper charcoal and stuff. All the
okay. I've got a Weber grill. You can see there. Maybe I bought a little bit too much wood. I thought I'll get some wood for the barbecue, and maybe I've overdone it a little bit, but that should keep me going for a few years. But yeah, we can get the charcoal, no problems at all. So anyway, where is all of this? I don't think I've ever shown.
How many hours a day are you cooking?
Oh, oh dear, excuse me. Maybe 2 hours a day. Depends what I'm doing, Vinnie. I mean, often I'm sort of prepping for other things.
Probably takes you 15 minutes to grind the coffee.
Well, I spend time with the coffee thing. It's, I no longer have to think, okay, I got to push a button, come back in 2 minutes time, right? I can grind the coffee, I can set it all up, because I've got that one thing that you can't buy and you cannot reuse, and that's time, right? That's the greatest thing that I've got right at this moment in time is time. It's something that I just didn't have for a very, very long period.
You're making everybody jealous at this point.
Do you know something, Vinnie? It's really strange, this, because 28th of February was the last day that I worked, and for the previous nearly 8 years, I think it was literally 24/7, 365, okay? Barely a day off, didn't take holidays, all that sort of crap, right? And then on the 1st of March, I get up and I suddenly realize I've got nothing to do. That is a very, very strange feeling. And,
tell me how Judith adjusted to you having that much time. Are you driving her nuts, or?
No, not at all. I mean, a good part about this is the fact that, we now get time to spend with the family, right? For 20 years, we saw little of our family at all. And it is a large family. And so we get to see a lot of the family, which is great. You can't make up lost time, but you can, to a degree, make up for lost time. And that's kind of what we do.
That's wonderful, especially in the holiday season. Great to hear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here it's Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and the following day. And we will, between those 3 days, we'll have all of the children and quite a few of the grandchildren over, right? But we have to do it in relays because...
You don't have that much space.
No, we don't. We have a lot of space, but we don't have that much space.
Yeah.
But as I say, I've never shown anybody, sort of the countryside or close to where we live. And if you thought that was jealous, how about this one?
Oh, wow. You could host another 50 families there.
Yeah. Well, that's not my house in the distance, I can assure you, but that's very close to where we live. I mean, that's pretty typical of the kind of countryside that we live in these days, on a good day.
So paint it for the audience. What part of the country? What is the nearest big town? Okay,
so we live in very close to the Yorkshire Dales, and literally next door to moorland. And I'll give you a photo of that in a second. And it's one of the largest national park areas in this country.
Okay.
One of the first as well. And so there are literally tens of thousands of miles of walks that you can go to. It's a really beautiful I think it's a beautiful part of this country. Other people will say, there are different parts that are better.
I'm moving in with you. This will be my 10,000 steps a day, different trail every day.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what happens when we take the dog for a walk, right? It's quite simple. So, and to give you, this is the actual house. It's the one right on the end there. You can, and that photograph was taken in 1905.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah. And if you look in the distance to the left, you'll see the start of the moorland that just goes on for miles and miles and miles. And that house was originally a cottage with a bakery attached to it at the back. And that's how much it's changed. Not a thing, right? Nothing. has changed on that front
It must be
in 100 years.
120, 115 years old. It must be a lot of work, Brian. Dennis?
Well, these houses were built to last, right? I own property that goes back to 1832. This one is 1851, as I say. But the previous owners to this had taken this, because this is quite a small cottage. And what they did was they knocked down the bakery, which was still there, and they reused the stone, and they did this. So at the back, you've got this huge extension, right? They extended the back as well and made it into the kind of house that I wanted to live in, because that piece that you see on the back, if you look internally, and I'll show you, that's what it looks like. This gives you an idea. That room there is about 51, 52 feet long, okay? And so you've got a dining room, you've got a kitchen, and you've got a lounge area, all in one. And the reason that I liked it was because in this country, we're absolutely terrible at using space efficiently. Terrible. But what they've done is that they've made this happen. The minute that I walked into this, I thought, this is so similar to the apartment that I had in San Diego. It's an incredibly efficient use of space.
It looks pretty modern.
It is. It was only done 5 years ago.
Okay.
So unlike the last house that we lived in, where we had to rip it out and start all over again, this one, all we really need to do is redecorate, right? But everything's really modern. It's kind of got underfloor heating and all the rest of it. So from the outside, you've kind of got this, okay? And on the ground floor on the inside,
as you age, a two-story place sounds intimidating, doesn't it? Going up.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But they were also very clever, because to the left on this particular picture, they retained one thing that I was really pleased about, and that's this. That's the original. That's the original range fireplace area, right? So that was one of the few things that they retained. It gives us an extra lounge. It means that we can put the kids in one room, the adults in another if we need to.
This also becomes a heater, right?
Oh yeah. Anyway, you have to excuse me there. I'm having a coffee.
It reminds me of Margaret's place in Ireland before her parents passed, and some of the equipment they had.
Yeah. I mean, this building will be here 100 years after I've gone, without a shadow of a doubt.
So Dennis, compared to yours, my year's been pretty boring, but let me quickly walk you through what my year's been like. So family, the great thing about this year has been we've been able to see each other a lot more. So, we were over Thanksgiving, Tommy came with his girlfriend, and we were at Venice Beach, which is about an hour and a half south of us. Really nice and really relaxing weekend. So that was good. Our neighbor's cat has adopted us, Shadow. You can see Margaret. Shadow adores Margaret, absolutely, and she spoils him, so why not? So that's another part of our family now. Tommy continues to be in software. He's in Boulder, and his girlfriend is also in software. So, two nerds, very happy. Rita used to be in hospitality. I mean, she's my global ambassador. She's only 30 and she's been to 50 countries already.
What?
So, loves to travel. But hospitality,
50?
Yes.
Wow.
I got her a passport when she was a month old. So it kind of stuck. But hospitality died, right, at the start of the pandemic. So she started a personal coaching service. And it was a multinational company from day one. She's got clients all over the world. So she's done very well in the last 18 months.
Wow.
So Tommy, we've had a chance to see him 3 or 4 times. We've been to Colorado a couple of times. He's coming again for Christmas. So that's been one very positive thing about this year, is a lot more family time.
Because Rita's very entrepreneurial anyway, isn't she? She always has been.
Very outgoing, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes friends and colleagues everywhere very easily.
Yeah,
Unlike our dad, doesn't piss too many people off. The other good thing about our neighborhood is we love to foster other people's dogs and cats. Bushnell, who passed away a few months ago, unfortunately, great little dog. And then Sophie is another beagle. They moved a couple of months ago. I mean, these are the, just like your Mabel, these are my 10,000 step a day kind of companions. So that's been good. So from a business perspective, lots of little milestones. Can you believe Deal Architect's been going for 17 years? Amazing, isn't it? When you look back, you go, where did the time go? And older I get, I come to the conclusion, slow and steady wins the race. People say, my God, how did you get to so many posts? Well, over 15 years, they gradually happen, right? So the nice thing in the last 18 months has been, I've been doing a lot of these video episodes. Just in the last year was another 100 plus. I'm up to about 300 of them now. So, that's been another way of expressing content. And, books keep coming. That is the great thing in the last 18 months has been the pandemic has changed every industry. It's turned every industry upside down. So I'm focusing a lot on verticals, right? How enterprise software has new opportunities. Many of them still don't see it, but some of the more enterprising work. I mean, if you look at the whole industrial sector and servitization, and if you look at banking, fintech, I mean, every industry, just amazing opportunities. So not just for books, but also for advisory work. So it's been keeping me pretty busy. And I travel a fair bit, and that has started picking up. It's still not very enjoyable. I mean, people are stressed out when you travel, but it's starting to get better. So, these are little milestones. Life goes on. Nothing compared to what you've done, though. But it's been a reasonably positive year, and I'm looking forward to 2022. 2020 was kind of a very, very hard year for most companies. 21 was a disappointing year for many companies. We thought business would be back to normal. Unfortunately, at least in the US, we've taken a lot of government money. The private sector hasn't revved up quite enough. So I'm looking forward to 22, where the private sector takes its lead again and drives the economy a lot more. So I'm looking forward to 22.
I wish I was as optimistic as you, Vinnie. I'm not, unfortunately. At least from a British point of view. I look at what's going on in this country, and I don't talk politics, or very, very rarely talk politics. Let's put it that way. But I just look at the mess that this country is in, and I think, what have we done?
Dennis, but which country is not in a mess? I mean, the last 18 months have been traumatic, right? But I have faith in the private sector. If you let if you let entrepreneurs and business people lead the way, usually good things happen. Maybe that's a stupid way to look at it. I really get bothered when I see our government writing $1 trillion deficit checks. That bothers me more than, some private sector supply chain issues or, other. But there's a lot of chaos in the private sector right now. But I think they'll work their way out. I have more faith in them working their way out. I say that's political, but I have faith in the English. You guys are a pretty resilient bunch. I mean, you've had many, many other challenges in the past. So I have a fair amount of faith in your country too.